What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Super Gamer Boys. I am your host and captain and dad, Garrett Morling, and here in the virtual studio with me is the one, the only, JJ Purdom.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's nice to see you, Garrett, and of course to our two guests this week. It's good to see you guys on the show. Yeah. Garrett, thanks for having me here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Did
that sound like sincere for just one moment?
A little bit.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, like, it sounded like I cared and I really value what you think and or say. So,
yeah. Thanks for at least attempting there. If you haven't noticed yet, we have a guest on the show here. You know him from twitch.tv/Boba Fletch. We have Nate Fletcher again, gracing us with his presence here on the show.
Thanks for having me back. I feel like we're out of the honeymoon phase now, and we're moving into our full-time relationship, and I'd like to start airing my grievances now, actually.
Oh, shoot. You're on the show twice, and now all of a sudden it's just, you're just running the thing. Okay, go ahead. What do you got for me?
I got nothing.
Okay.
After the honeymoon is when the sex stops, by the way, Nate. I don't know if you know that, but Garrett cuts it off immediately.
Hold on, let me write that down real quick. Hold on. Thank you.
And also gracing us with his presence is our buddy Dan. Let's freaking go, Elliott.
What up, baby? Let's freaking go, dude. We're here. Yes. We're live.
Oh, man. How you doing?
I'm more excited about Dan being on the show because he works at NASA. And, dude, I just got to know, is the stuff in Area 51 real, bro? I mean,
it is.
Are there aliens? Oh, I knew it.
I can't go into full detail of like what is there, but it's everything that everyone talks about. It's wild.
And more.
Yeah.
Awesome. Garrett is very curious about anal probes, Dan. So if you could just talk with us about it off air, because very into the anal probe thing. He's constantly asking about it for no reason.
That'll be a separate episode for all the patrons.
That's Super Gamer Boys after hours or something, after dark.
Yeah.
Late night.
After dark.
Oh man, how's everyone doing? Last week, kind of a slow week. Nothing really going on. Like I'm sure everyone is just kind of bored.
I didn't do a whole lot,
Yeah, man.
Nothing too crazy in the video game world.
To mind.
Yeah. No. If all you listeners out there didn't know this, the new next gen consoles came out. We had the Xbox Series X on Tuesday. What was it, the 10th? And the PS5 came out on the Thursday, which would be the 12th, I guess, if my math is correct. Let's see. We are going to be talking about Series X a little bit today because Nate and Dan have both gotten some hands-on time, got about a week gameplay under their belt. And then JJ might share a little bit because he has his very own PlayStation 5 console. He was surprised on Friday morning with that. So.
Yes, I was, and I have no one to thank but myself. I thank me because I did a great job picking that thing up.
Yeah, exactly. You did lots of work and staying up late into the night, get that pre-order,
Okay, you actually stayed up for it, man? Thank you.
No. I think I mentioned to you, or I don't know if I mentioned on the show, but yeah, I actually got lucky with the PS5 because I got picked for that. They did that lottery for PSN users.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if you're a PSN, if you already have an account with us, enter this lottery and so many of you will get picked to pre-order straight through us. And I got the email. I'm like, cool, I'm good enough to get a pre-order. And was I lucky because it was impossible everywhere else.
Boy, was I lucky because I got to play that sucker.
You were lucky.
Of course, I did post on Twitter and Instagram a little video because upon opening up the box and looking at the gloriousness that was the PS5, that Area 51-esque ship that it is, there were fingerprints all over that DualSense, man. And I did have a kit come through from the sheriff's department, and apparently you are the only one matching those fingerprints, Garrett. So it's very obvious you opened up my box and put your grubby fingers all over my DualSense.
I admit to it. I'm guilty. You got me. Caught me red-handed. I originally, when I brought it in the office that morning, I told you I hadn't even opened the box. I've been drooling over it all night, sitting there next to my front door. And then as soon as you left, as you were leaving, you're like, oh no, you should have popped open. You should have looked at it. And you left.
I said you should have looked at it, but here's the deal. You just say that. You don't actually mean it. You say those things out of courtesy. So when I say like, oh, dude, you should have played it, I didn't really mean that. I was full of crap, Garrett. It's what I felt like I'm supposed to say. You know what I mean?
Well, I took your word for it. And within 5 minutes of you walking out the door, I cut the tape on that thing so quick. I was like, I just want to feel the DualShock or the DualSense. I just want to know what it feels like. So I was holding it in my hand. I'm like, man.
Did he walk in on you?
It was a little awkward. Yeah, he did walk on. Mostly because I didn't have a shirt on either when I did it.
Yeah, and I did find that really quick that he had taken the top off so quickly. I thought that was weird, and his nipples were very hard, not cold in the building. The other thing that stands out to me the most is I had a very large job on my schedule. Garrett runs the computer stuff because I can barely turn one on, and I said to him, half jokingly, I mind you. Hey, what if we were to reschedule that biggie and then we just go ahead and hook the sucker up and just get it today, And he's like, oh man, you know what? I don't think you can reschedule it, but oh my gosh, I want to play. I'm like, man, you were so quick. That was me testing your morals just to see if you were willing to. Then, of course, if you would have said yes, then I would have totally been all about that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Man, cool. And you guys have gotten, Dan, have you gotten to get pretty substantial time playing some games on the Series X or?
Yeah. I pre-ordered both the Series X and the PS5.
Oh, sure.
Still waiting on the PS5 to arrive. Hopefully later this week. We'll see on that. But yeah, I was able to order the Series X, and I actually had 2 consoles arrive on Tuesday. One for myself and then another one for my buddy.
Dang.
And when you first get the Series X, you're just like in awe. Like a lot of the packaging reminds me a lot of like Apple. It's like very precise and like everything has its own spot in the box and everything. And it was like really awesome. Like when you first open it, it's really cool. But then there's a lot of like just downloading a lot of the games to like actually play something. So there's like that waiting process. So you're just like, all right, what do I do during this time?
Cradling the box and just like, ooh, wow, nice. Looking at all the pictures on the back of the box.
I could just stare at the box like all day. But yeah, once you kind of get through that setup process, which was like pretty simple, you just download like their Xbox app on your smartphone and then basically just set that all up and
nice.
Plug your HDMI cable and a power cable, and
Good to go. Fire it up. Now, Nate, you said you pre-ordered the PS5 and have not received it, right? Though you want to share a little bit of that story? I've heard a little bit. You've been sharing some in the Discord, but it's been kind of a fiasco for you, huh?
Yeah, so I got the Series X. I got 3 Series X's on
Tuesday. Mr. Moneybags over there. Jeez.
Wow.
One for each room.
Streaming's really paying off over there.
Yeah. No, I got one for me, one for my brother, and one for a buddy. I was with Dan when we were both just pre-ordering like madmen because we knew it was going to be crazy. So we pre-ordered a bunch of Xboxes. They got there on time, no problem. And then Thursday rolls around. It's PS5 day. I'm ready. I'm ready. I've already been indoctrinated into the Xbox, lifestyle, as you would call it. You open that treasure chest of a box and you lift that monolithic device out and it speaks to you. Honestly, it really did speak to me. So I'm waiting for that moment with my PS5 and Thursday comes and goes. I don't get it. Whatever. It's COVID season. I trust FedEx. Not really. But then Saturday comes around.
First
not
mistake.
there. Sunday, still not there. And here we are Monday and it's still at the same facility, or so they say. So
jeez.
Tune into the Discord if you'd like to hear more about my exciting adventures. And Walmart took my money, but I don't have anything to show for it.
If you want to stay updated on the journey, go over to supergamerboys.com/Discord and you can keep up with the story there.
As somebody who's been looking at potentially picking up a Series X or possibly even a Series S myself, did you guys just buy them outright, Dan and Nate, or did you guys go for the payment plan along with
all access,
the Game Pass and everything?
Yeah, I think for me, I did just the outright payment. But I think having the monthly payment for a lot of people is really enticing, especially with Game Pass included, with a couple of the different plans. It's really easy for people that are interested in gaming, that they can just kind of hop in pretty cheaply. with that like $25 or $35 a month cost.
And basically get like Game Pass at a discount.
Yeah. And
which
so
is
like,
crazy.
for me, I was like, I'd rather just like pay the Xbox straight out and then just have that continual like monthly subscription for Game Pass. But yeah, it's very easy for people to just kind of hop in and pay that $25 or $35 a month.
Yeah.
I think that those are the prices. I could be wrong,
I think so. What about you, Nate? Did you get either one on All Access, or did you get them all just outright?
I got all three outright. Obviously, I didn't pay for all three outright. That would have been a great conversation with my wife. But
what is this $1,500? No.
Yeah.
I bought one outright. And the reason I bought it outright wasn't because I didn't want to. I actually really did want to. But if you were there on pre-order day, you know how hard it was to get one to just enter your cart. And a lot of people were having the issue of they'd get it in their cart with All Access, and then they'd get approved for credit, and by the time they were done, the boxes were all gone.
That's what happened to
Little
me
did
and
we
Zach,
know that Microsoft actually invited people to come back later, which I thought was so killer, and buy it if they gotten approved for credit. So I didn't know that was going to happen, and I don't regret it at all now that I have it. But like Dan was saying, it's such a killer option, and I'll probably do it in the future for that like a mid-gen upgrade.
Right, if they do like a pro
we know
model or
will be
something.
here in like 4 weeks, basically. But yeah.
Nice. Cool. Well, let's get on with the show here, because I'm excited to talk more about the Series X. But first, today we're going to be talking about DualSense support for PS4 games, some smoking hot consoles, and hands-on with the Series X. But first, let's give a quick shout out to our Super Gamer producer. We have Adrian the Homeboy Holmes, and our Super Gamer sponsors, Bill Bird, Julie Bates, Dustin Long, Brent Fox, and Daniel James. Thank you guys so much for supporting us over at patreon.com/supergamerboys. You guys are fantastic. I'm so thankful for all the love and support over there. And if you want to support us over there, listen later on the show. If you're on the regular podcast feed, you'll get the ad where we'll go more in depth on those tiers there and how you can get different perks free, just like our Super Gamer Book Club episodes. So they come out usually the last Friday of the month we try to shoot for. The first one was BioShock. Last month we did Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 2, which featured Nate here. He was on that with Zetch. And there's a couple other of you on there, right? There's 4 of you?
Yeah, it was Steven, Zetch, and I.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then this month we are doing The Last of Us. And yeah, we're trying to figure out the recording date for that one at this point. The end of the month's a little tricky because it's a holiday, so a lot of us are busy, but we're going to do our best to get it out there for you. It'll definitely be coming with The Last of Us, and that'll be a fun one. And remember, patreon.com/supergamerboys, but we'll talk more about that later on in the show. One last little update. Last week, if you missed last week's episode, we talked about our new kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, schedule going forward. Last week was our 2-year anniversary, 100 episodes, and we're kind of mixing things up a bit. So after this episode, we'll be going bi-weekly. So next week, there won't be a new episode. It'll be every 2 weeks now. And that's to kind of give us some time to, some breaks in between, because it's a little crazy for some of our schedules, keeping up with that. And the hope is that in those off weeks, we will be able to stream some. Now, again, next week being a holiday, we're going to do our best to get on here and, interact with the community and play games with you guys, or at least play a game so you can be in the chat and hang out. But at the very least, we're going to, in the future, try to do that every other week, doing alternating between streams and the show. And you'll still be able to get the show in all the same places, and the streams will be over at supergamerboys.com/Twitch. You can find us over there. Cool. I think it is time for the nerdy nudes.
It's now time for the nerdy news.
Music to my ears.
That was awesome.
By the way, I just want to say now that Zetch is no longer with us.
Oh, jeez.
I freaking love that
He's
name.
not dead. He's not dead. I'm sure he still listens to the show, too.
Rest in peace.
Hey, is he hosting the show anymore? No.
He's doing Super Gamer Book Club.
He's basically dead to me at that point.
Oh, shoot.
Right, JJ? Come on. Back me up, JJ.
I love Zetch, and for a little guy, he's got a very very bad problem with aggression. So I don't want to mess with anybody who's got Hobbit issues. I love the little guy. I like carrying him around in my backpack sometimes just for craps and giggles. So I will say nothing negative about him, but seriously, it's nice to have the governor off, if you know what I'm talking about. What? Okay.
Oh, no, so bad. We love you, Zetch.
Absolutely.
This first news story here comes from VGC.
I got really awkward really fast.
Jeez.
Like he's grabbing his collar. Like, how do I get away from this, dude? Accept the uncomfortableness. That's the good stuff.
Dude, I live in the uncomfortable.
I'm here for it. I'm freaking here for it.
Okay. Then I'm the odd one out. I'll leave. You guys do the show. You guys got this under control, apparently. No. So yeah, this first news story comes from VGC, VideoGamesChronicle.com. The Last of Us Part 2 and God of War on PS5 support new DualSense features, including haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. The Last of Us Part 2 and God of War reportedly will support these new features. Naughty Dog's game also makes use of the PS5's. This article is very repetitive. DualSense controllers adaptive triggers according to the game's radar. DualSense's flagship feature is haptic feedback, which uses a range of tiny vibrations to introduce various sensations during gameplay, such as the grittiness of driving a car through the mud, resistance when jumping into water, or a bouncy sensation when crossing a wooden bridge. It also has adaptive triggers, which can offer varying levels of resistance to make game mechanics such as shooting a bow and arrow, the tension increasing as you pull the arrow back, feel more realistic. It's this application that's present in The Last of Us Part 2 Games Radar reports. We can continue on this article, kind of reading more of what they're saying, but we kind of get the point that some PS4 games are going to start getting more support on the PS5 than maybe we originally realized. I think we all assumed, okay, it'll be up-res a little bit. We'll get the better frame rates. Like instead of having to choose between performance or 4K mode on the PS4 Pro, we're going to get the better, just everything. But I don't know. Were you guys anticipating getting like cool new features like this on through the DualSense and stuff like that? Like I guess I wasn't at all. It kind of came a left field for me.
Okay, so as being the one guy who actually received his PS5 so far, I'll go ahead and talk real quick because I know sensitive subject for Dan and for Nate. You know, I don't think that I fully grasped what it was, what haptic feedback and some of those things meant. I know you guys probably aren't aware. I'm not real smart. Okay, so I don't really understand when you use a lot of technical jargon. But what I felt in playing the PS5 and getting to play around with the DualSense, I got to play a lot of, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but Astro's Playroom. And that's a game that's designed specifically with the intention of letting you kind of understand all the different features that come with the DualSense. I loved this game tremendously. And just some of the response from the controller is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. I'm not sure if there's anything quite like that with the Series X or the Series S, but it feels so realistic to play with the DualSense on a game that's optimized for that controller. So I'm kind of excited that it's going to be having some forward compatibility with some PS4 games. I absolutely love Last of Us 2, and as soon as I can get my copy back from my nephew, I look forward to being able to throw it on there and see a little bit of up-res. I saw how hard it was pushing the PS4, the motor running really hard. And I mean, I was like, how can this be any better? It's so realistic. So I'm really excited to look at it on the PS5 and see about that kind of stuff. I have no experience with any guns so far on the PS5. So I'm not a big Fortnite fan, but I know that my son and my wife have been playing Fortnite on there, and they have talked about a little bit of the changes that have come with Fortnite. They feel like everything is a little sharper, a little clearer, and that things seem a little more realistic.
I think it doesn't necessarily surprise me, especially if it's recent games. To some extent, you have to think about games like The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima or God of War, games that were built towards, not God of War as much, but towards the end of the generation. These games were built with the next generation in mind as well. It's not like they were like oh shoot, it's out. Let's make the PS5 in a couple weeks, so they know it was coming. So all this stuff is already there and already available. It's only a matter of time before we hear even more about, the 4K upreses and the ray tracing updates and all that kind of stuff that's going to start rolling out. My only hope is that this is all just a free change, and I think it will be. I'm ready to move on from the fake remasters, and kind of move into a time where we're like, we can have old games that move to another console and get upgraded without paying another $50. So as long as this comes with that, like just a free little move, like hell yeah, I'm all about it. And super stoked to, JJ was talking about Fortnite. For me, it would be The Last of Us that I'd love to get back into and see. And there's, obviously a bunch of different weapon types in there that I haven't tried the DualSense yet, but just add that. In my opinion, that DualSense is really only going to play well into those types of games, because if you're a competitive shooter player or you're a sports, you don't want that on.
Turn it right off. Yeah.
Yeah. So for a very specific reason, you need stuff done as quickly and efficiently as possible, especially with what you're used to. But in an adventure game or something, Assassin's Creed, anything like that, I'm really looking forward to it.
That is actually, I feel like I did not understand what the adaptive triggers meant. Like, as much as I kept talking about it and giving that example of the bow and arrow over and over and over again in all the press releases, I never understood what it meant until I think it was earlier today, actually. Like this morning, someone shared a TikTok. It was on Twitter. Someone shared the video, though. And it was Call of Duty Black Ops, the new one, Cold War. And they were just showing off different guns and how the adaptive trigger works differently with each of the guns. And you can actually, so they hold the controller right up to the camera so you can physically see what's going on when they pull a trigger. And there's so much tension, just like kind of a real trigger, shooting a real gun. There's tension at first, and then as soon as it releases, you can see it freeze up, and then it actually with the recoil of the gun, it's physically like a piston, do shaking. And it just blew my mind. I guess in my head, I imagine it just has a little rumble in it, but no, it's straight up no, it's shoving your finger up and you're fighting against this thing, you're shooting a real gun, which kind of a cool feature, honestly, at least for a campaign mode, a big story, going through Black Ops, Cold War, or playing through The Last of Us, feeling like you have a weapon in your hand, or with the haptic feedback, crawling through the mud in Last of Us Part 2 or something. That could be pretty sweet. Now, with that in mind, what are, just off the top of your head, what's one or two games that you guys would be interested in getting some of those features, like a PS4 game, that comes to PS5? I don't know. Do you have anything, Dan, off the top of your head you'd be interested in seeing?
Yeah. So one of my brothers actually was able to pre-order the PS5, so I got to play Astro's Playroom a little bit.
Okay.
And so I did test out the new DualSense controller, and it is as JJ was saying earlier, it's freaking awesome. You can't really describe it until you have the controller in your hands, whether when you're walking through mud or when it's raining, you can feel it. And even when there's wind, as you're walking through the grass, it's it makes the controller a little bit lighter. So it's really cool technology. But I think a game like Spider-Man, just I could see that being a pretty, with the new Miles Morales Spider-Man game, just being able to have that tension within the triggers as you're swinging throughout the city.
Oh yeah.
That really, seems like a really cool game for sure.
Rad.
Nice. What about you, Nate?
So I'll be able to talk about that next week.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you get that game today, so can't wait to hear about it.
Hopefully, I'll be able to relate. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, for sure.
No.
I just want to be able to play it on my own console.
Yeah, me too.
That's why I'm I only played 5 or 10 minutes because I'm I don't want to ruin that experience for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Horizon Zero Dawn for sure. That's what I'm. That's what I want. I mean,
yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, no matter how cool it feels, everything feels cool on a new console. It's what it's like in a year. You know what I mean? When I tried the Oculus Quest for the first time, it's just mind blowing how crazy VR is. And then in a year, you're Well, practically I play it like once a month. You know what I mean? So you have these types of things that happen in gaming all the time. You know, the Kinect felt amazing at first. The Wii felt amazing at first. This stuff is rad, and it's there for a reason, for marketability. When I think about it, I think like, what are we going to get used to? You know, and I think bow and arrows and certain things like that, I think that's there to stay. But as far as other games go, there's not much that haven't even thought about, but I feel like it has a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, cool. And JJ, I would ask you, but I feel like the whole article is about your favorite game, kind of getting DualSense support. So I feel like that's your answer.
Well, one of the really cool things about the PlayStation 5 is the PS Plus collection. The 20 games that came through. I went through and I probably used up so much of the space. I'm scared to even check. And I won't hold on to all of them, but I downloaded a lot of those games because some of them I never got to play, although I already own God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn and a lot of the great games that sold in the last generation. There's a lot of really great games in that collection. I think that it's kind of like Sony's answer to Game Pass. And I think that it was them doing something. They were trying something. I think that it really kicks butt. It's not competition for Game Pass. Game Pass is an amazing deal for Xbox. And I don't think there's any real competition. But the 20 games they chose were pretty darn neat. We've had a lot of fun the last couple of days playing games like Ratchet and Clank and stuff like that on the system and going, wow, it looks incredible on there. So when you guys get an opportunity, I don't know if you have PlayStation Plus, but when you get your PS5s, some of those games are just incredible to go through and play on this. But it does make me know that I need to get a new TV. I have to. So
it's honestly the number one thing I'd say about next gen. A lot of people, essentially, that's like, in my opinion, where you really see the difference is in those upgraded TVs, the HDR, the ability to do 4K, the ability to, I don't have one that does, was it 120? I can't, mine doesn't do that, but a lot of TVs don't right now. But yeah, it's pretty next level.
Crazy stuff. It's exciting. Next gen's exciting, man. Let's get into the next news story here. This one is from The Verge. Microsoft tweets out, "Please do not blow vape smoke into your Xbox Series X." Internet trolls seem to be faking Xbox Series X problems for memes. So Microsoft's latest next-gen console, the Xbox Series X, along with its smaller cousin, the Series S, has arrived. And with it, a whole bunch of internet con artists trying to meme people into believing the new console is plagued by terrible issues. You might, for example, have seen clips passed around the internet that showcase the Xbox Series X literally smoking. The post would have you believe the blazing graphics of the Series X are so demanding that they can cause the Xbox to catch fire. But the reality is much simpler than Xbox console spontaneously bursting into flame. What actually appears to be happening is that people are piping vape smoke into their new $500 consoles to give off the appearance of a fire to troll fans on social media. I honestly, before I knew it was fake, I was just scrolling through Twitter. I saw that video and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so bad. Like it was convincing. It was very convincing. And then very quickly I'm like, there's no way that's real, right?
Well, I actually blew vape smoke into the PS5, and the only thing that happened is I got stoned. So,
That's good.
I don't know if they really correlate or not, but
no, but I do think that is a good addition, and I think you should post it on Twitter and then tell people that your PlayStation 5's on fire.
I should probably do that. Go, oh my gosh, it's catching.
Right. I honestly spent like 20 minutes just like deep diving on Twitter, like looking at all the different videos. And then like see videos of like people taking their like vape things, and like blowing smoke into their Series X, and then it just like all comes out the top. It's just like, guys, what are you doing?
Doesn't
it's
seem
kind
like
of
a
cool
great
to
idea.
look at, but
yeah, like I would never do that. I would never do that. Like that's my baby,
Right. So
funny enough, I walked up to my Series X this afternoon, which I always do, by the way. It sits like right next to my TV. And it's the first console I've ever owned that doesn't fit in a slot, like on your, because they're just massive. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I like to go up and I just like to rub its head. You know what I mean? There's just those perfect holes in the top, and it just feels so good. I found out though, it was turned off, which if you choose instant on for the Series X, it's basically actually never turned off. That fan spins constantly. So when I went to, rub my child's head, I felt the cool breeze on the top. Dude, that was pretty mind-blowing to me. And I have to say, it's a little concerning with how much energy is going to be taken up by that thing. If that thing is spinning all day long.
Your electric bill is going to go through the roof, huh? Oh, man. Yeah, it's the most interesting part of this whole thing is that the meme has gone far enough that Microsoft itself has dignified it with a response. And yeah, they just straight up just said, we can't believe we have to say this, but please do not blow vape smoke into your Xbox Series X. Like, how that was just so fantastic when that tweet finally came out. Like, what world do we live in? That has to be like a PSA put out in the world. Please stop doing this to our console. It's not good.
They've done a good job at like rolling with like things we'll see that people post on Twitter. Like when there was a rumor of like the prices for the Series S and X.
Yeah, when it got leaked, yeah,
it got leaked, and then like 30 minutes later from the official Xbox account, they tweeted out something, and then like an hour later they posted like, all right, we're just gonna release all this out at like 12:30 at night, Yeah. And then like same thing with like the meme of like the fridge, for the Series X, like they actually made that a thing. And then you see like here, they're just like rolling with it, which I think is awesome.
Their marketing guy is brilliant. Like he deserves a raise. Like it just, I know we say that like every couple of weeks when they do something awesome, but just keep giving him raises because he's killing it over there.
When you're in the Xbox community, which I would say Dan and I would both claim to be more in that community, it's really nice to have the brand be so vocal, especially in regards to this kind of stuff, because I think when you spend so much time ignoring, the issues that people have had, it can make you feel like, oh, well, will you guys ever get better? Will this stuff change? And now we have this fresh start with the new console. I think this new marketing style that's rolled out over the last 6 months is like a perfect picture of like, this is where we're going. We're a community-based product now. We're not just a box. We're a social media, and we're a streaming service, and we're a PC service, and it's just like it's a perfect way to tie everything together. And so as a fan, you kind of go like, all right, cool. I'm cool wherever they're headed, and you don't have that sense of like, man, I really hope they come up with an answer to like why Halo Infinite looked like trash, because they're going to, they care, and they really take that stuff seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge just difference from what Sony's been doing. I mean, what Sony's always done, they've always been more on the quiet side, but with this console launch, I just feel like they've really dropped the ball, honestly, and that's why even in the last few months. We've talked about multiple times on the show, like we're leaning more towards heading Xbox's direction with this next generation. At least I am, like, not only for the price point, the all access thing, but I don't know, Xbox has just been like,
we were both going that direction, which we would have never been Xbox guys in the past, but it just seems like Xbox has dominated with their marketing.
And the tighter knit, the community that just feels tighter knit, like you were just talking about, like, having the social media that's just like out there and like supporting people. It's like, even like on Thursday when the PS5 launched, like Microsoft tweets out like, hey, like, love launching consoles next to you guys. And they had called back to a tweet from 7 years ago when PlayStation launched the PS4. Xbox had put out a tweet then, and they retweeted that with like, oh, we love launching consoles, with you guys. And I don't know. This is so wholesome. Which is super cool. So great. Yeah.
It's like we're all in this together playing games, whether you love Xbox or PlayStation, we all love games, which is awesome.
Yeah. Exactly. You PC gamers, you guys suck. So get out of here.
I love that we're talking about this because our literal next news story is about how Xbox wants to distance themselves from PlayStation.
In other news, over at IGN, they write, Microsoft wants Bethesda games first or better or best on Xbox. but it makes sense though. Like we talked about a few weeks back, they straight out just purchased Bethesda for what was it, some odd $1 billion,
$7 billion or something
crazy,
insane,
insane amount of money. So, and there's a lot of questions, and again, still some questions, but we were all like, okay, like what does that mean for other consoles? Is it just exclusively Xbox? What's the deal? And so there's been a little bit of clarification. And so they came out and said that, let me just read the article here. Xbox plans for its big Bethesda acquisition are starting to take shape as the company reveals that as far as cross-platform is concerned, Bethesda games will be first or better or best on Xbox consoles when they are released. Microsoft continues to field questions about the future of Bethesda and Bethesda games on other platforms after its blockbuster acquisition of ZeniMax. Xbox CFO Tim Stewart spoke at the Jefferies Interactive Entertainment virtual conference last week and gave more details about the company's plan for Bethesda. What we'll do in the long run is this is a little weird because it was spoken, so it's weird to read words that were spoken by someone else. But he says, what we'll do in the long run is we don't have intentions of just pulling all the Bethesda content out of Sony or Nintendo or otherwise. But what we want is we want that content in the long run to be either first or better or best, or pick your differentiated experience on our platforms. We will want Bethesda content to show up the best as on our platforms. So he said it kind of 3 or 4 different ways in that little paragraph there. But the idea is exactly that. It's either going to be first, like timed exclusive, I'm sure, on Xbox. Hey, maybe for the first year or something like that. Similar like a Tomb Raider. What was the second Rise of the Tomb Raider? That was like the first year on Xbox. Probably something like that. Or you're going to get exclusive content. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it's even timed DLC or exclusive DLC. I don't know if there's any other possible features they could get, but
I would assume best means works with their hardware the best. In the same way that, when you get an Assassin's Creed game on a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One, it looks pretty similar. But when you play Horizon Zero Dawn or The Last of Us, it just looks bonkers. I do think that he kind of means like, we know our architecture, our developers know our architecture. This is how we want it to work, and this is how we'll make it. I don't know if he necessarily means like we're going to down-res the PS5 version to 1080. Like,
right.
So you think there will be that graphical edge as well then too, like kind of like, hey, we can run 4K 120 frames a second, no problem. Like it'll just like run perfectly. Or on maybe PS5, you have to do the thing where you choose, performance or quality mode, possibly kind of thing. Like it's not quite as optimized or something.
I would assume that's what that means. I think it's Phil Spencer, right?
This was someone else, Tim Stewart, their CFO.
Okay, yeah. I would assume he's just kind of speaking in PR and his version of saying you're going to see games on PlayStation, but you're not going to see them first, and you're sometimes not going to see them at all. But we also don't want to alienate that crowd, and we want to give them that peace of mind of like, yes, you're going to get the next Elder Scrolls game on PlayStation. Stop freaking out.
Which is actually smart because they're going for both consoles. I mean, why not? If you're limiting yourself to just Xbox fans, you're taking out a huge portion of people by alienating PlayStation players. So, I mean, I'd love to play the next Elder Scrolls, although I'm not a nerd. But, if I were, I'd want to play that on the PlayStation.
Right.
Yeah.
I play a nerd technically on this podcast, but I'm not.
Yeah, I know.
I'm kind of like a cool biker guy, except for who doesn't have my bike is kind of like a Schwinn.
Yeah, you have that. You have that like flag football thing this weekend, right? Like with all the boys.
We do, and you know what? There's some pretty big 12-year-olds in that league, Nate, and I appreciate you bringing it up here on the show. I mean, that was a private conversation, but some of those guys are nearly 3 to 4 inches taller than me. I mean, I feel like it's fair. So I've got them by 150, 200 pounds, but I mean, whatever. Some of them are very quick.
3 to 4 inches taller than you isn't saying much. So I don't know.
Okay, that hurts. That hurts a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Coming from you, that's wow.
I'm sorry.
Blow, man.
Yeah, so I don't know. This was something to be expected. They purchased it. It's their studio, and I'm glad they're going this direction than outright cutting Sony off. Like, it wouldn't have made sense, but they have every right to. They could have been like, no, it's ours now. Sorry, guys. So it is cool that they are still playing ball, and I think I mentioned it the last time when we talked about the acquisition originally, but it'll just be really cool / funny to boot up the first Bethesda game in a while, like new Bethesda game on PlayStation, and get that big Xbox Studios logo across your screen. That'll be interesting to get that on there.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm sure all the fanboys, PS5 fanboys, are going to go out and smash their consoles and light them on fire. Meanwhile, Nate can't even get a hold of one. They're going to light them theirs on fire.
Hey,
I don't even know if Nate will ever get one, to be honest.
I just stopped remembering it.
Yeah.
We just keep poking it, just bringing it back. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well,
there's going to be video of him blowing vape smoke into it.
Check it out. PS5 doing it too. I think this kind of is a good point to slide on over into a little more in-depth hands-on Series X talk. We've talked about, not blowing vape smoke into it, talking about some games. Now let's talk about your guys' actual experience with the console. You've had it for just about a week now, tomorrow. And I just want to hear your guys' experience. Like, Dan gave a little bit with the unboxing, but how was it to open it up? How was it, that first game you pumped in there? What was the first game you played? And what are some of the features right off the bat? Like, what are kind of maybe each of your guys' top 2 features that you love so far about your Series X? So let's start with Dan.
Yeah, I think the UI is like pretty phenomenal on the Series X. Towards the end of like having my one, I think it's the Series 1, or Xbox One, whatever. They started adding.
Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. It's last gen. We don't care about it.
It's so hard to keep track.
I already forgot about it. It's in my trash can.
It's already thrown out. So whatever the old Xbox was, they started adding like some of those new updates to the UI. But having that on this Series X, like immediately turning that on, really fast, really smooth, pretty sleek, honestly. But even just like having the capability to have 4K at 60 frames per second, which is pretty awesome. There are certain games that you can run up to 120 frames per second, but like most people, like I don't have a TV that can do that. I don't have like the high enough quality like HDMI ports to run all those games at that high frame rate. But like the first game I played was Borderlands 3 with Nate and our other buddy Steve-O.
Nice.
And just the like ray tracing in that game was like unbelievable. Just having like super high quality graphics, 4K, but having like the light constantly be changing as you're like running down a hallway with like these neon lights is like unbelievable. And like I don't see myself ever getting used to that. I'm just going to be constantly getting amazed every time I see like ray tracing in a building or like just as I'm walking around. So like ray tracing and 4K graphics is just amazing on next gen.
We actually kept saying it. We go into like every room, be like, oh my gosh, look at the ray tracing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We got to the point where we just point at something random, be like, oh, look at ray tracing.
Yeah, it's sick. It's pretty sick.
Rad.
Yeah. That's awesome. What about you, Nate? What was kind of the first game you got, or was it Borderlands 3? You that was your first game you booted up there? Or? Okay.
No, I the first game I played was NBA 2K21.
Okay.
That is, believe it or not, one of the only potentially 3 or 4 games that are 100% next gen. But you cannot run it in the same way on the old gen. So that's why it was really interesting to me, because as we all know, the Series X didn't launch with anything that was like, here's our killer app, which we can get into a little bit later. But so loading up 2K is just night and day. And it sounds dumb, but like the hardwood of the NBA courts, and where I'm going to bring up ray tracing again, because I truly think that the ray tracing is the most next gen graphical update. Stuff like that. The players and the animations and the way the developers talked about how they no longer have to like have like built-in animations for each player when they, you go up and do a dunk or a layup. It's like actually dynamic because they have the processing power to run that real time. Stuff like that is stuff you'd notice immediately if you're a part of that community. And then I played a lot of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And honestly, it's a beautiful game. The ray tracing is once again gorgeous. The load times are mind-blowing, especially if you're coming from like old gen. But if you guys have played Valhalla, it's not. It's Assassin's Creed. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I would go so far as to say The Last of Us 2 even looks better. Obviously, there's better lighting and better textures in Assassin's Creed, but the character models and such, it wasn't disappointing, but
when they have to make a game for what 5 or 6 different consoles, like of course there's going to be like a certain level of quality that they're not going to be able to reach with that. So that I understand. Yeah, that makes sense.
It was not disappointing at all. But I do think a lot of people thought that was going to be like a killer app for the Series X going in. And it's kind of funny, but to me, and this is what I want to talk about, and Dan can kind of talk about it more. The best part about the Series X, the adaptive triggers to Sony's, is the quick resume on Series X. That is the most, dude. You want to talk about mind-blowing? I'm playing Assassin's Creed, and I go, you know what? I don't really want to play Assassin's Creed anymore. I want to go play 2K again. I switch over to 2K. I'm playing 2K exactly where I was. And I go, you know what? I'm kind of feeling like some Borderlands 3. Switch over to Borderlands 3. No problem. Just immediately in. And turn off the console, come back 24 hours later, and you're right there. No issues at all. I know some people have had some issues with certain games that aren't quite ready for it yet. But to me, that's the next gen hardware feature, even though it's software built, that I do think, Sony will have an answer for eventually. But right now it's just, you remember when we got the new consoles and you could hit the home and it would actually take you home without quitting the game?
Right.
That's what it feels like. It feels like that next step of like, oh, I can leave a game and go to a new game and then go back to the old game. Like,
it's so crazy. Now, up to how many games can you have in like rest mode essentially?
I think they said 5.
5 games. That's still crazy. Like to be able to switch between like 5 different games. Like, I'm not feeling this. I'm going to jump over here, and for it to pick up at the exact second that you were at before. Like, that's so bizarre.
Well,
that's
you're going to be loving the PlayStation 5 then, because it has the same thing. And it's incredible that I am playing a game and I'm able to jump to another game and get right into it, and the load times are immediate. I've never experienced anything like it. So I don't know if it has quick resume the same way that the Xbox does.
Yeah.
But it has the ability to, you're playing a game and then go to another game and then you go back to it, and it's like you never left. It's been incredible. So it doesn't put it to rest. It doesn't like have to take forever to get back going and stuff like that. It's like I never left.
Yeah, I think it's a little different. Like it probably feels similar because of the solid state in the PS5 is so fast. Like it just boots up quickly. Where like I think the cool thing about the Xbox is literally like you just hit pause on a game, or you don't even have to hit pause. Probably you could just like put it to sleep, and then when you fire it back up, like there's not even a load screen. It just like kind of pops up, doesn't it, right back to where you were. Like it literally just almost like sets it off to the shelf, puts on a bookshelf, and then pulls it back out, which is so crazy. I can do that up to 5 games, especially with how big games are. Just be able to like, well, now we're going to play this one.
Yeah, and I'd agree with JJ. Even if it doesn't have quick resume,
that's a solid state.
The load times are just, and my computer has a solid state, but it's not the same way, especially when it's a console. Like this is all they're built for. They don't do anything other than this. You need it. You need it to do this for you to A, justify your $500 purchase, and B, justify the next gen. So, you have these certain things. So for me, that's what set it apart for me. I'm a little disappointed that they released the UI a month early rather than just release it right when you got the Series X out. It felt like a jump. But I understand it's their whole idea of like, well, if you still have the Xbox One for the next year, we want you to feel like you're still a part of this.
Right.
But I do think that when you play the Series X, the whole time in the back of your mind, you're thinking, damn, I just can't wait till there's like an exclusive game. Not to justify it. I mean, you feel like 100% justified the second you play any game. But to like almost give you that sense of like, I'm playing an Xbox, not rather than I'm playing a next gen version of the old Xbox I had.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess that's my opinion.
I think one of the cool things on the Series X is like it has on all your games that are optimized for Series X or S, it has like a little logo down the bottom right. So it's like a lot of those newer games like NBA 2K, Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, Borderlands 3, a lot of those newer games that have that little logo. Whereas like some games that haven't been fully optimized just has like the game there with no Xbox Series X or S logo. So that's been super helpful because like there wasn't really like a full launch title for Series X, for Xbox really. So that's been super helpful just to like see what games I can get the full use of like 4K 60, which has been awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. Man, makes me want an Xbox or just anything next gen so bad. Like I feel so left out here. I feel so left out. Everyone's got these cool consoles and I got a cool new PC.
You just got
I'm excited about that. I got a cool new PC.
I just got a PC today who's talking about wanting to get a console.
But it's different. Like
you already know his wife is in the other room. Like,
she just like
sorry,
she didn't hear me. She didn't hear me, but like her ears are tingling or like ringing. She's like, wait, he's talking about it. Stop. She's gonna kick in the door and like rip the microphone out of here. I saw that there were some issues with people's consoles at launch, which is to be expected. Brand new piece of hardware, and with COVID, who knows how the manufacturing of these things have been going. Like that could have just been a dumpster fire for the past year for them. Who knows? But yeah, there was just some random little issues here, and I was just curious if you guys have had any of these issues. There's been problems where their consoles have been just shutting down on them, just out of the blue for no reason, having hard times booting back up. Controllers desyncing, not pairing, corrupted 4K displays, weird noises. Have you guys had any issues with that, or like the smart delivery issues with like certain games, or
no issues
I haven't.
whatsoever?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
There are some games that aren't optimized for smart delivery yet, but that's just understandable. I mean, there's put like 100,000 games in both of the consoles game stores. So
yeah,
not everything's going to work right out the gate, but no, nothing crazy. Dan and I have a buddy that messaged us today and was like, "Oh, my game crashed," and I was like, "That didn't happen to me." But aside from the normal, like, "Oh, I had to call Xbox support because I couldn't get my console set up," that wasn't me, but stuff I saw. I do think it was a pretty good launch for both. Like, you have to give a round of applause to Sony, Microsoft, and most of the FedEx drivers. But the people that really made it seamless during this time, I think it's mind-blowing that between all of us sitting here, there was like 6 consoles delivered on time. And
it's pretty crazy.
I think that like one thing we didn't really talk about was the Series X controller, which really isn't a ton different, especially if you barely played the Xbox One. But that's just another great example of like how they listened. They stuck with their guns. They upgraded it just enough for the people that are hardcore about it. But it just feels like, dang, I can't wait for that DualSense because I know that's going to feel more next gen. So there's a couple issues like that where it's like not quite feeling next gen, but not to the point, like I said, there's zero regret. It's not like I've ever been like, with the Xbox One X a little bit, there was that like, and the PS4 Pro, there's that like, I mean, it's not really faster. Like it's, up res to 4K. That's cool. This feels like a leap, Nice. But there's a couple things that it's like both consoles have some work to do in making you in the next 2 years feel like, all right, we're moving in the next gen direction. I don't know if JJ, your experience on the PlayStation has been similar.
Yeah. There's some games that I've been putting on there. Most games actually that I'm putting onto the system that are I don't see any up-res on them, and I don't see it's like, okay, I would be getting the exact same experience on the PS4, so it doesn't stand out. But when you play things like Astro's Playroom, you really get a feel, or at least for me, I've really gotten a feel how great and how new everything really is. It's just so hard to explain. The thing is so realistic. So that's what makes it feel really new, next generation, and new to me is when the thing is really getting pushed. And you're right, it'll be a couple of years before we really see this in the long term. When we're able to see like, okay, all right, man, everything's getting pushed to the limit. Right now, it's kind of hard to say when you're playing some old games. I'm sure when you guys are putting most of the Xbox One games on that are on Game Pass, you're probably not seeing a whole huge difference. Okay, it's a little faster. Maybe it looks a little sharper. It's definitely great for the load time. That load time thing is huge. You just don't even realize when you spend, I'm just going to use Red Dead Redemption 2 as an example, when you would spend sometimes 4 or 5 minutes or more loading into a screen. It's still, you'd leave the room, take a crap ski, come back, and like, look, man, when I'm in there, I'm camping out, and I know I've been in there for 5-6 minutes. Come out, and it's still loading.
Amateur.
Still loading. You know? So it's really, I'm interested to see how it's going to work out. I haven't put Red Dead Redemption 2 in, but the fact that it'll load up quicker is fantastic. So I've seen a little bit of the Series X and the Xbox One Valhalla. Their load times, I watched a video on YouTube, and the load time was like within a minute they were playing, and on the opposite screen, the One X was going for like another 3 minutes or something like that. So it took like 4 minutes to load into that screen.
Yeah, and then when you add quick resume into it, you really only ever have one. I haven't loaded it again. Like, it's always just been in quick resume now.
Nice.
So that features, I mean, like you said, the load time. Like, we're loading into Borderlands 3, and when we first played Borderlands 3, I don't know if you guys have played Borderlands 3, but one of their biggest issues was the menus. Like, when you're switching through the menus to like switch your guns on the old consoles, it just felt horrible, and I don't know why. And they never patched it. And now I realize it was just under too much load, which you think like it's just a menu, but it was doing so much in once in terms of like system, like stress.
Right.
Then you throw it at the Series X, and dude, it's just like, oh, this is so easy. It's just a menu now. But when something's slow, like JJ was saying, when you can write a dissertation when you're waiting for Red Dead Redemption 2 to load, when something's that slow, it changes how you experience the game. And that sounds stupid, but like the perfect example, and it's not a hardcore game, but once again, back to NBA, it's like you load the game within like 20 seconds, you hit play game, and you're playing like nothing else. There's no, let me show you this ad, let me talk to you here, pick your team. No, it's just you're in. And
well, yeah,
it sounds stupid to say that's the best feature of next gen, but it is.
I just learned from you, Nate, that when I next time take a crap, I'm going to say that I'm writing a dissertation. I really like that.
I got you. Yeah.
That was poetry, brother. Poetry.
No, but you're onto something there with the load times, like making the experience of the game better. Because what was it, last fall, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order comes out, and basically like a Dark Souls Star Wars game. Not quite as hard, but for me, I'm not a real gamer, so it was hard for me. And I would die, and even on my PS4 Pro, the load times were atrocious. Like, it'd take like up to a minute and a half after I died to load back to the beginning of a map. I'm like, okay, and I'd run back there, and within 30 seconds die again, have to wait another minute and a half to get back in. I was like, okay, I play for 30 minutes. I've actually only played for like just a couple minutes. Like, it was horrible. It was just horrendous. So going back, and it made me not want to finish the game. I stopped. I took it out. I'm like, I'm done. Like, that's horrible. I don't want to sit here for a minute and a half, 2 minutes to wait for a game to load, especially if I'm going to die so much because I'm bad at video games. So having like the Series X or the PS5, or I don't know, I want to see if I can even get on my PC now that I have this new PC. It's just like something with like that's a solid state in it, that those faster load times changes things, and could have been a feature that kept me in that game, because everyone talked about how amazing the story was, how it's tied into like the Star Wars lore and canon and everything, And it's like, oh, I missed out on that because I die too much and it took way too long to load. So yeah, no, that's exciting just for that. Like you're onto something with like, yeah, that can make games actually fun now.
Yeah, I definitely want to like test that out because I had Jedi Fallen Order on my PS4 Pro and same thing. Like, I was going on easy mode because I'm like, I just want to like get through the story, but you would die like every couple minutes and then the wait time was so freaking long that it would just be frustrating to hop back into it, And so like I want to download it on the Series X because it's on Game Pass now, which is like freaking awesome.
Oh, nice.
And I just want to compare the load times, because like that game was really fun, but every time you died, you're waiting a minute.
That was your game of the year, wasn't it, Dan?
I'm trying to remember what else came out last year, but
2020 is just
Death Stranding. Death Stranding Game of the Year 2019.
Dude, I haven't even played it. I haven't even played it yet.
Oh man, it's on Steam and it's amazing.
Change the subject. Hurry.
Just give me the game, bro. That way.
Dan, don't be. Yeah, you're gonna piss him off. He's gonna be really angry right now, Dan, because he's the one who's known to blow up. Oh no, you know what? That was Zetch. Never mind. Garrett's fine. But Dan, when you say I played it on easy, that's actually how Garrett plays all games. He'll lie on this thing, but really not a real gamer. So, and I played like Fallen Order. I loved Fallen Order. I thought that game was fantastic. It was beautiful, but I had a lot of problems with the load times taking forever too. And I also played it in the very beginning when it was really glitchy. There was a lot of problems, and I don't know if those issues got fixed, if they ended up doing a lot of patches. But when I was playing it, I just rage quit it, man, because I actually made a mistake in one of the worlds and went to another world and then realized, oh, I can't go any further because I didn't get this part I needed from the past world. So I basically was like, oh, you need to start the game over again.
Yeah. What you explained, I Googled, I remember when it happened, I Googled it up. I'm like, oh yeah, it's actually a game breaking bug. Like the only way to get past it was to completely restart the game. And it was something they hadn't patched out yet. So like when I played it, even like a month later, that had been patched out. But yeah, JJ was super unlucky. I was like, oh, okay, start over the whole game.
I was a substantial amount into the game. So by that point, and I think that in that bug, I believe I played in that area for a good 3 hours or so trying to like figure out. And I just felt like I wasted so much time that I was like, I'm done. I handed you the game back, Garrett. And it was like, I can't play it anymore, man. It's not for me because I can't figure it out. Yeah. And it's just, I went online and I couldn't figure out any like tricks. So I said, I'm good. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so let's, if you guys, here's your last chance here to throw out any more hands-on, your review on Series X. I'm actually going to give this question from a listener here. And this is going to kind of be how we go out on this. And if you have any last thoughts to kind of convince people that get Series X. So, I
was going to ask JJ.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion, I think right now, if you can find one in stock, I don't think you could go wrong with either. I don't know if JJ would add on to that because he's played the other, but in my opinion, I feel like you're not going to really feel like you made a bad decision either way at this point, but I'd like to hear more from a PlayStation perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that, I'll let you know that I think it's a great idea to go with the Xbox because of the value that's there. I'm actually, just based on what Dan and Nate have been saying today, I've been leaning back and forth on, I'm getting the PlayStation 5. Do I really need an Xbox? And I've decided because of their feedback, I'm going to be picking up a Series S. So I figure that, and I'm going to actually go with the payment plan.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm going to
go, dude.
I'm going to go with the payment plan. And I just figure like, it's not that I want to set aside the PlayStation. I just feel like with the Game Pass and the value that Xbox has brought into this generation, it can't be beat. It's something that Sony has not been able to meet at that level. So I'll be picking up the Series S. I'll probably, if it doesn't really come into supply very good in the Christmas season, I might have to wait until after the beginning of the year. But guaranteed, I'll be talking about that here on the show.
We take off our jackets and it just says Xbox employee. And we just
That was the whole point. We wanted
Our
to
work
turn
here
one.
is done.
We wanted to turn one guy.
I'm out.
You know?
I'm out.
He works at NASA. Why would Dan ever leave NASA, dude?
Exactly.
That's so true. So true.
We had a big launch the other day, so it was pretty awesome.
Dang, I didn't know about that. Top secret launches going on.
Yeah.
Spilling the beans on our podcast. You heard it here first.
You guys are the first to know.
So yeah, we just have this question from over on Discord. Sleight of Game writes to us, and like I said, this is kind of like your last pitch to the listeners here. But he asked, there were massive improvements over the previous generation's consoles whenever a next generation console came out. At a time when gaming has peaked, how much improvement is there really with these new generation consoles like the Series X, and is it worth the upgrade? So here's your guys' last chance. I want you each to give your 30-second or 60-second pitch on why they should buy the Xbox. How about that?
Yeah, I think just the huge upgrade in frame rate and load times and the graphics overall is like something that was enticing to me, especially for the Series X. That would be my biggest thing. You know, they're working on new games, you know, like Cyberpunk is going to be coming out next month.
Ooh, baby.
And even bigger games like Halo will be coming out next year, hopefully at some point. But they're constantly looking to add new games with that can work with all those graphics and all the higher frame rates and stuff like that. So
yeah, I would agree. I agree with everything you said. I think that we didn't. It's probably the exact same on the PlayStation, but I think honestly, frame rate, like that buttery smooth feeling, we haven't had that on a console yet. I don't care what anybody says, we haven't had it on the console yet, and it feels amazing finally.
yeah.
Yeah, and as far as the PlayStation 5, I would say, and probably goes for the Xbox as well, it's the first system I've ever picked up at launch, and it's really exciting to be in on the ground floor. There's something really exciting about being in right at the beginning, and I just say, like, why not jump on board, man? Like, if you're gonna do it, don't wait. Yeah, you could wait for there to be more games and everything else.
Good, just do
that. Do your kids really need Christmas? Not really. If they're little, they don't know any better. You can go to like the Dollar General and get some cheap crap. Get yourself a new system and jump in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Amen. You nailed that.
There we go.
Derek, can you actually cut what Dan and I said? I think you just heard what he said.
Yeah. No,
That's what JJ said. Like,
Don't worry. After the show, I'm going to kind of help him to just cut your guys' part out. Don't worry.
All right, good.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What you guys don't know is JJ actually does all the editing. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. It happens every week. Oh man, cool. Thanks guys for sharing your thoughts on the Series X. You got me stoked for next gen. Like I mean, I was already excited. And now it's just like, what am I doing with my life? I need some fun consoles. I've always been a console boy, so it's a little weird to not have it. But I'm excited for you guys. I'm glad you're enjoying it. At least some of you. You know, I know Nate, you're missing out on your PS5, but at least you have the Xbox.
Rip, dude.
Do you guys have like a 15-minute timer reminder on your?
Yeah, my phone dings every like 10 to 15 minutes.
You send Nate into deep spiraling depression one more time. All right, there it is.
What's funny is like every time I get an update for like my PS5, I'll just like text Nate like, oh, it's getting closer. You know, it's down like Sacramento, should arrive tomorrow. And he's
I'm
just
like still in effing Tracy, California. First off, where the hell is Tracy, California? Second off, can we maybe petition to have it removed?
So funny, dude.
Man. All right, guys. Well, let's get into our ad here where we talk about our Patreon. All right, if you love what we do each and every week here, well, soon to be every other week, or if you want to help support what we're doing in those off weeks on the stream, you can support us over at patreon.com/supergamerboys. Over there, we have different tiers you can support us at to get different perks. $1 a month, you can join in there and you get our episodes early and ad free, which means you miss this section. Sometimes JJ makes funny jokes and you miss it, but it's all right. We try to fit enough funny in the rest of the show, so it's you don't miss out on too much. But we have that $1 tier, early episodes ad free, and those Super Gamer Book Club episodes as well, all just for $1 a month. $5 a month, you get our show notes early, so you can actually see what we're going to be talking about, and you get a link to the Google Doc where you can leave your own comments. If you want to drop what your thoughts are on a new story or what you've been playing or whatever it might be, leave them on there, and we'll share them on the show. And so if you want to be part of the show, it's $5 a month. You can get in at that tier. $10, you're a sponsor. We shout them out each and every week. You heard them at the beginning of the show. You guys are awesome. So that's a perk of being the sponsor there. You get the shout out. Sometimes JJ makes fun of you. Or sometimes he's your best friend. You just never know what you're going to get week to week.
Sometimes for $10 a month, you guys can get really, really sweet foot massages. Garrett, he's really into like the shiatsu and a lot of pressure point stuff. He has been known to put his mouth on a few toes on occasion. Now, if that's what you're into, no judgment. A little bit. No judgment. No judgment. I mean, some people are into that kinky stuff. Whatever, Garrett. No judgment whatsoever. But I will let you know that one of our sponsors, producers, directors, whatever you want to call him, Daniel James from Cross Hands, Carmarthenshire, over in Wales, one of my good buddies. Recently, he was telling me that him and his fiancee Gemma are going to be getting married around Christmas time. And I told him, you know what you need at your very, very British wedding? A very, very American man coming there, Chris Farley style.
Oh, we better get an invitation. We better get an invitation.
So he technically, legally invited me to the wedding. And I said, hey, just so you know, that is a legal invite and that will hold up in court. So remember, when I show up and I'm very American, you cannot ask me to leave because you technically invited me, and I'm going to need somewhere to crash. So I hope you like to snuggle, buddy. So thank you, Daniel James, for supporting us on Patreon and letting me come. And I hope that there are bridesmaids there. Wait, does everybody hear this thing? Is this something that where my wife is going to hear this?
Everyone hears this one. Yeah.
Okay. I really hope that there are some like busty bridesmaids that like have that are like totally like, oh, he's so American, you know what I mean? Where they have like low self-esteem and hopefully alcohol.
Okay. You can also support us at $15 a month and be a Patreon producer, just like Adrian Holmes. And that just gives you, straight to the source. You get to talk with us, pitch us segment ideas, be part of the show. We've had Adrian on a couple times. We love having him. And that's our top dog tier if you really love what we do and want to be a little closer on the action and helping us keep this thing running. So remember, patreon.com/supergamerboys. Support us over there to help keep this train rolling. And now let's get back into the show. Alrighty, so we are going to get into what you playing, and let me see. Let's start with JJ, because we heard a lot about Xbox, but I want to hear about a couple of your experiences on the PS5 with those games you've been playing.
Awesome. So currently sitting at home, I have not played it yet. Spider-Man Miles Morales, that's going to happen later on tonight. I'm excited. Look forward to that on the next episode, me getting to talk about how amazing that game is. I've already played Astro's Playroom. Now, we talked about it earlier on. It's one of those games that were created specifically for the reason of allowing you to see what the DualSense controller does. And man, it is amazing. It's such a fun little platformer. You're going through all kinds of old PlayStation stuff. You're going to like PlayStation 3 world and stuff like that. Had a lot of fun with it. The controls are so much fun. And it wasn't just fun for me. It was fun for the whole family. The kids really enjoyed it. It's easy to understand and just a lot of fun, very colorful and vibrant. The controls are so realistic to real life. I mean, it's just like when you're jumping, you feel like you're jumping. It doesn't just feel like a couple of motors spinning inside of the controller. So I would just say that that's one of the things is it just feels so realistic. I got to play that. We downloaded quite a bit of the PS Plus collection. So I played a little bit of Ratchet and Clank. I'd never played it before. It looks brilliant on the PS5. And that's a really fun platformer that the kids really seem to get into a lot. And then I checked out other couple of little things here and there. But the one thing that I borrowed from Garrett after Garrett said was his game of the year and how much he loved it. You know, everybody knows he's a huge fanboy for Hideo Kojima. He's got the bed sheets at home and everything. I got to play on the PS5 Death Stranding. And so I got to tell you, having never played it, I've seen yes, thank you.
Finally.
Was that for
should we all clap?
That's just for the game. That wasn't for you, Jay. That was for the game. Because
that was for the game.
That just it hits deep. Every time I hear that, just those words together, Death Stranding, it just
allow me to clap my hands.
Tear up a little bit.
Yeah, I teared up a little bit because I'm going to tell you, it's a lot of walking. You know, I know some people have said like that it's a walking simulator, but let me tell you the deal is. Do
I need to take my headphones off for this? Is this going to hurt me?
No. This game is brilliant. It is beautiful, and I'm actually really blown away that I never borrowed it on the PS4, but I'm glad that I waited to do it until now. This game is amazing, and the score is unlike any score I've heard before. Right away, one of the first songs that's played, I was almost in tears, just the vistas that you're looking at and the music played together so well. And it's like, dude, all I'm doing is walking. And hearing this music, and it's like welling me up, you know, where I'm like, this is
100%.
So, yeah.
If you look at my Spotify history, I strictly just listen to Death Stranding soundtracks. That's all I have listened to for the past year. So it's fantastic.
I will tell you, there has been quite a bit of curse words from me falling down and destroying all of the packages that I'm trying to carry. So essentially, you're a delivery man in this post-apocalyptic world, and you're trying to deliver these things. I haven't gotten far into the story, but you're trying to deliver it, and you're like having to go up over hills, and you're trying to like learn how do I get over this mountain range, essentially. And then when the timefall, the acid rain starts dropping, and everything it touches ages you. So I gotta tell you, with the music and with everything else, when these wraiths are starting to come out, the BTs, it scared the crap out of me, man. I'm 42. I do not have the greatest control of my bowels. And sometimes stuff just wants to leak out for no reason. You know what I mean? Dude, it's a brilliant game. It's beautiful and really scary. I'm looking forward to getting more into the story. Right now, I haven't gotten too much of the story, but I'm excited. And I'm going to keep going and keep playing it. Although I do have Spider-Man coming, so Spider-Man might trump it a little bit.
I'll understand for a little bit. You have a month to finish Spider-Man, but then you got to get back to Death Stranding.
Back to your full-time job.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so glad you're playing. I'm glad someone else is playing, because I feel like I'm the only one I know who's played it. Everyone bags on it, but no one's actually played it. And I'm like, no, it's so good. I promise. The story's so good. The music's so good. I love the gameplay. It's just so relaxing. It's like hiking over a hill with the pitter patter of rain, and then the puzzle of getting, I don't know. It sounds crazy, but it's a blast. It's such an awesome game. I'm glad someone's playing it now. So, let's see. You guys, Nate and Dan, you guys already shared a little bit games you're playing. Is there anything else you want to add more to that? Like, Nate, is there anything more you want to add to your list of what you've been playing? Anything?
I think I kind of undersold Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but it's fantastic. It's a great game. It's Assassin's Creed. I mean, it's one of the last 3 RPG style Assassin's Creeds. Every single time they come out, especially these last 3, I get obsessed with them, and it's all I want to play. I love the concept of like raiding English monasteries, because I was raised extremely conservative Christian, so it really goes against like pretty much all my beliefs, but it's pretty dope. And you just get to raid with like 8 other Vikings and like build up your little township in England, and you're like trying to take over all of England, and you're working your way towards London. But it's really rad. It feels it feels like they gave you enough freedom, and I think some people disagree, without too much stuff in your face. And I think every Ubisoft game in eternity has thrown way too much in your face. Yeah. This one feels like I could just do the story and raid like settlements and stuff and feel happy. But you almost have this like Breath of the Wild sense of like, but I could also climb this mountain, because in this game, like Breath of the Wild, you can climb whatever you want. Like it's not limited by if there's a couple ledges or, you know, like footholds. No, you can do whatever you want. And that's all I really wanted to say. There's nothing really else from, you know, I highly recommend it, especially if you can get it on a deal. The only reason I say that is because it's Ubisoft. They'll go on a deal in like a week.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, so I'll kind of piggyback off that a little bit. I played a little bit of it on my PC. There's a Ubisoft Plus or Ubisoft Connect or something like that. It's a subscription thing. I had picked the subscription up because I got accepted into Amazon Luna, the Amazon streaming service. They were like beta test. It's all right. It's not great. It's no xCloud, but it's pretty decent. But what I've actually been using more from that is not even the streaming side of it, but downloading just the native Ubisoft app on my computer, downloading Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and man, yeah, it looks great. You know, like you kind of said, it's not crazy next gen, but you know, even with a little bit of ray tracing, it looks good, feels good. I only played about an hour and a half of it, maybe, so not a ton, an hour and a half, and I was enjoying it, but for me at this point, it's like hasn't quite grabbed me yet. But I feel like I've had that issue in the past with Assassin's Creed, where it does take a little bit before it finally like, and this is why you want to play. There's like a very big ramp up, very slow ramp up.
I was telling you before the show, it took 7 hours screen, like the title screen. So
7 hours. Sorry, you cut out there. 7 hours to get the title screen.
7 hours to hit the title screen. So, wow. But it's not saying that it wasn't fun before that. Mm-hmm. It was fun. But like you said, yeah, when I was about an hour and a half in, I was like, all right, Assassin's Creed, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to grab me? Because it's not here yet. But it'll get you. And I think it's like just like any game. Once you get the systems, the characters, and the goals in your mind, that's when you get really
invested in it.
Yeah.
Cool. What about you, Dan? I know you talked about some of your games already, but anything more to add to those? Any cool experiences you had?
I have Assassin's Creed downloaded. Still have not opened it. Nice. I have Watch Dogs downloaded. Still have not opened it.
Dude.
This past week was just like busy with work, man.
Yeah.
So
have you fired up Watch Dogs at all?
I have not. That's why I need to fire up.
Yeah. I have been playing with ray tracing. You thought you were looking at Borderlands 3 and talking about how amazing the ray tracing is.
Yeah.
That's one I booted up on my new computer, and holy smokes, like the ray, because London is if you don't know, I mean, just ask our listener, Daniel James there. He's from Wales, so not London, but you know, it's very rainy, very wet over there. So firing up Watch Dogs with ray tracing, everything's wet, everything's shiny and reflective, awesome. And it is glorious. Like it is the most amazing thing. So I'm curious how much of that reflects on the Series X, like if it'll be as intense as it is on PC.
I'm hoping it's just as intense, because like we saw that definitely in Borderlands 3, but definitely I've been playing a lot of 2K, the like My Career mode, which has been like super awesome. It goes like really in depth. Like you pick your position, and then you like start out in high school, and like my character is like awesome. This like super buff, like 6'2", like sophomore, which is like super unrealistic.
He just looks like you.
Yeah, and like all these other kids like super skinny, you know, they're like 5'6". Like I don't even belong playing with them. And so you play a couple games in high school, and then eventually like pick your college, and then play like, I don't know, 7 or 8 games in that, and then eventually you can go into the NBA draft and all that stuff. So that's been really fun. A lot of the like graphics are amazing, you know, 60 frames per second. It looks just phenomenal on the next gen console, and I've actually like turned on my like game mode for like my TV, which I like normally never do.
Okay.
but it even made it even smoother because I was noticing like a little bit of input lag, but I turned that game mode on and it just made it even smoother, which is awesome for like a super fast paced game like 2K because you're constantly like going back and forth down the court. But that game has been just like phenomenal to play.
Yeah. We're only preaching it so much because we know the crowd does. And when it comes to like next gen enhancements, that they nailed it. Like I cannot believe how many developers have dropped the ball and being like, oh well, our next gen like Destiny, it doesn't come out till December. You know, so much like Cyberpunk, oh we're delaying, like all this. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? A team put something together during COVID in time to launch. Like, kudos to everybody that was able to do it.
And it's a basketball game. Like it looks phenomenal for a basketball game, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, cool. Well, I already talked about Assassin's Creed. I've been playing. The only other game was, like I said, I fired up and just did a benchmark run with Watch Dogs Legion because I had to see that ray tracing going on. But Death Stranding on Steam, man, it looked great on my laptop, but now that I have my new computer, that looks beautiful and running at like 200 frames a second. It's kind of insane.
Go, dude.
But man, it is weird when you go into a cutscene, it locks at 60. Like it'll drop down to 60 and will only do that for cutscenes, which is a little jarring when you go from like 200 frames a second to 60. It's like, oh, it hurts my eyes. Oh, which
like,
is
this is crap. Yeah.
Yeah, which is so crazy because like it used to be like 60 frames per second. It was like, wow, this is so smooth. This is so, now it's like, nah, that's nothing. That's sissy stuff.
Hey, what do we see life in? That's what I've always wondered. Is that like 5,000 frames per second?
I don't know. Got to Google that. I have no idea. Yeah, so I've just been, yeah, right.
That's deep, bro.
How many frames per second is life in?
Hey, I was just thinking about it when I was vaping underneath my Xbox. That's when I thought about that.
Oh, yeah, so good.
One of those thoughts.
So, yeah, so nothing much from me, but I feel like that's a good spot to cap off this episode. It's been a jam-packed episode full of some fun news and awesome just experiences you guys have been having with the Series X. I'm really excited for this next gen, and for all of you guys, all the listeners, as you guys start getting your consoles, post it on our Discord, post it on social media, tag us in it. I want to see your guys' setups, you guys cradling your console. I don't know if you guys saw on social media, JJ sleeping with his PS5. That's the kind of stuff I want to see. I want to see everyone shouting out from the rooftops their next gen consoles are getting.
That's the best photo I've seen of like someone with their next gen console. Everyone's like posting it like under their TV, but JJ is just rocking it there in his bed.
Let's peek behind the curtain real fast. That actually got PG'd up quite a bit because originally it was going to be with the cigar. It looked like I had just had some sweet, sweet coitus with it. But it got shot down for whatever reason. Stay known to the man, dude. You know what I mean? Stop being held down. So yeah, I cleaned it up a little bit. But it was going to get a lot more X-rated, just to be perfectly honest.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you so much, JJ, for not sending that to me, because that would have been unfortunate. Trudy looking over my shoulder. Oh my, what's that? If you really, really love our show here and what we're doing, remember you can support us over at patreon.com/supergamerboys. That helps tremendously. All your guys' support over there. We thank you so much for that. All their names are in the description below. $5 and above, they get their names listed. So go down there, read their names, give them a round of applause, and thank them for allowing us to bring you guys who don't support us this product for free. Because it's what helps keep the lights on. supergamerboys.com/store, and you can buy some sweet merch. We have mask on there now. I don't know if you saw that on our social media, but we have some sweet Super Gamer Boys mask. I'm loving mine. It's actually super comfy. I was surprised. It's kind of a nice really soft material. We got sweet mugs like I've been sipping from. And after last week's episode, we had a little joke about a throw blanket. I do have a throw blanket with our faces on it now.
Yeah,
I don't know the quality of the product. I have not seen a sample of it, so results may vary, but there is one available on our store if you want to test it out and send me a picture of it. So go over to supergamerboys.com/store. You can rate and review us on all your podcast services. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to smash that subscribe button, click the like button. I don't know the YouTube lingo yet. I'm learning it, but do all those things. Ring that bell, and then you'll know when all the new episodes go live on here. During the week, you can find us at supergamerboys.com, Twitter and Instagram at supergamerboys, facebook.com/supergamerboys. I'm on Twitter at gmorlang. JJ is over on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at JJ Purdom.
At JJ Purdom. And Nate, where can they find you?
Boba Fletch on everything. But if you want to hang out with me 3 nights a week, except for last week, because apparently I was lazy, Dan, you can go to twitch.tv/Boba Fletch.
Heck yeah. And Dan, you got anything you want to shout out there?
Yeah, I got Instagram and Twitter. Just my full name, Daniel Elliott, on those social media platforms.
Nice.
I don't stream, but I'm Nate's #1 gaming buddy.
Hype man. Let's freaking go.
Yeah,
Freaking go, baby.
Let's freaking go, dude. Go.
Yes, I love it so much. I love it. Thank you so much to Star Andrews for our logo. You can check her out on Instagram at Ground Floor Graphics and Facebook.com/Ground Floor Graphics. And that's it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's one more episode in the books. We thank you so very much for joining us right here on the Super Gamer Boys. He joined us this week for the very first time. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Dan Elliott. Dan, thank you so very much. And of course, Nate Fletcher, Boba Fletch. He's a legend in his own mind. And then the guy who calls himself the captain. And that's only if the captain wears some super, super, super high, short Daisy Dukes like he normally does at work when nobody's around. His name is Garrett Morlang, and I am the voice of the Super Gamer Boys, the real leader of this entire crew. My name is JJ Purdom. We are the Super Gamer Boys.
And we will catch you on the flippity flop.